Everyone, welcome here. And today we are diving into the 5 rarest things in Forza Horizon 5, and they aren't all necessarily cars even a little bit. They're the 5 rarest things you can have within the game, and number 1, I guarantee none of you even knew about, but as soon as I tell you, you're actually probably going to be pretty upset if you don't have it. Now, kicking things off are these badges, which I'm sure lots of players don't even show any interest in. Because if you're like me, you see people with badges, but you don't really understand what they mean, and there are a lot of badges, probably most of them are locked for you like they are for me. But the first badge we are taking a look at is one that very few players have had because it's such an absurd achievement, and it's to drive 500 miles on the Horizon test track, which if you're like me, you don't even know where the test track is. And 500 miles seems pretty low. It doesn't seem like that big of an ask. But let me just show you something. We're gonna teleport right to here on the highway. This is pretty much where the highway starts. And if we go all the way to the other end and we set a waypoint, as you can see, that is just about 8 miles. So you would have to drive there 100 times, which is an absurd ask because it's like a few minutes every single time to drive there. You're gonna get incredibly bored, and it's not in the normal mode, it's in the Horizon test track. So to the one person in the comments down below that has actually completed this, please, how long did it take you? How much of your life did you sink into it? And what caused you to do it? I can't imagine. But that's number 5. Let's go ahead and move on. Now, these are not necessarily in any particular order because all of them are so rare. But number 1 is definitely the rarest. But since they're in no order, let's go ahead and do the other badge. There's 2 badges on today's list. And the second rarest badge the next rarest badge in the game is for reaching level 1000 in Horizon Open. I did one race today, a drift event, because first of all, I didn't even know how to get to this. Horizon Open has its own little category on the online thing. I just thought this meant playing in the map. It is its own section where you can do racing, you can do drifting, playground games, custom races, you can do all kinds of things. So I'm gonna have to dive into this a lot more because this is just absurdly cool. But as you can see, I'm only level 1 and you have to get to level 1000. And if most of you are like me, you didn't even know this existed. Not many players do that. So if you see anyone driving around with this badge, don't mess with them. They are incredibly good at the game. And if you're in a game and you see someone with this badge, don't worry. You don't have to concern yourself about getting first place. It's not happening. But now we are moving on to number 3, and number 3 happens to be a car you can't get anymore. And no, it's not the Ford GT OPI. Technically, you can't get that. However, there was an technically unlimited number of those codes that could go out. It was just within a certain amount of time. So that's not the rarest one I'm going after. This, however, is. This is the 4/5 Window Deluxe Forza Edition, and this came with a pre-order controller for Forza Horizon 5, I think back in like 2021. And there was only a certain number of those controllers that were even made. Some of them were sent out to creators, and you can't get it anymore. Maybe you could find a code on eBay of somebody that's selling theirs and they've saved it, and the price is insane. But if you didn't get one in those first couple months, you're probably not going to get one now. I paid $75 to get a code in the first couple of months. And I technically paid $150 because the first time I paid $75, I got scammed. And it's not worth it. I never drive this thing, but it is pretty much the rarest car you can have because you can never get it again. Now, number 2 is also a car. Don't worry, number 1 is something you can't even fathom. But number 2 is also a car And it may at first seem like this is less rare than the car I just showed you, because yeah, technically you can still get this car. But when I say that, I mean you need a lot of patience and many hours of free time on your hands, because none of these will ever show up. Between Gooseus and I, there have been 3 or more total hours of auction sniping. We haven't even seen one. We don't even know if people know that this car exists, because it released back in February of 2023. It's the Toyota Sports 800 1965 edition. Yeah, February of 2023, not even February of this year. So pretty much 2 years ago, this car released for some weird event that hardly anybody did, and that's all. Now sure, it probably is on modded accounts, but so was the 4 or 5 window deluxe Forza edition. And if you have this car, hold on to it. You'll never drive it. It's a pretty garbage car, but you are one of such a small number of people that are lucky enough to have this car. Enjoy it. But we must move on to number 1. And I don't think any of you could have predicted this. This is a very weird, rare thing to have in Forza Horizon 5. And to do it, I think we should, let's get into this car to show it off properly. Now, as you can see, our game, it looks normal, completely normal. I am playing on my main account. Everything's fine. It's a little dull, but that's just how Forza Horizon 5 is, right? Wrong! I don't know how well you can see the difference, and the car wasn't exactly the same color, and maybe we should have waited till daytime, but Forza Horizon 5 used to have an option on PC accounts. Perhaps it still exists on console. I don't play on console, so I can't say that for sure. But there used to be an option to adjust your saturation levels and how bright the game was for you. And for whatever reason, Forza decided they didn't want this option in the game anymore and took it out. So there were a few select accounts that changed this setting before Forza ever took it out, and for those who did, your account forever stayed at that saturation setting. So on this account, it happens to have an increased saturation setting from the normal Forza Horizon 5 bland color scheme. So if you were ever wondering, wow, Forza Horizon 5 is a very boring, monotone game, like it's not super colorful, it wasn't always that way. However, most players didn't even know this existed, and if you know about it now, it's far too late. So if you're one of the few accounts that actually was able to change this setting, and you still have an increased saturation account, you have the rarest thing in Forza Horizon 5. And most players didn't even know it was a rare thing you could obtain. But anyways, boys, that is everything for today's video. Let me know how many of the 5 things you had down below. As always, we'll see you boys in the next one. I'm out. Peace!